Hello everyone, how is everyone doing? So happy to be seeing all of you today. Today we're going to do human reproduction and reproductive health together, and remember that these notes that I am writing in class, I'll be sharing all of these notes on my Telegram channel. All you need to do is join the channel and keep track of these notes, because for your last minute revision this is your perfect strategy. Okay, now when you look at human reproduction and reproductive health, definitely human reproduction you will get about 5 questions, okay, minimum 5 to 6 questions, and additionally, if you look at reproductive health, you can expect another 3 to 4 questions. So both these chapters together itself can grant you almost 9 questions. So almost 40 marks worth of content we are going to revise today. Okay everybody, now I hope my screen is clear to you and everything is good to go. Okay, just a small change in time. From today onwards I'll be seeing you all in the evening at 5. Okay, so we'll be starting our classes from 5 o'clock in the evening, because of course we're dealing with more chapters, so even if it takes time, I don't want to invade into your own self-study time. Okay, now I'm conducting a mega workshop on the 25th of April, okay, so which is Sunday. So on Sunday in the evening at 6 o'clock, I'm going to be taking this workshop, and in this workshop, I'll be dealing with all the struggles that you're going through and how exactly you should refine your strategy for the last 1 week before the exam, and also high weightage topics according to priority. I will be sharing some important pointers that you have to remember, and how you can, effectively revise everything in the last 1 week. Along with that, exam strategy, how you should approach the question paper, everything will be dealt with in the workshop. Alright everybody, so do make sure that you are going to attend the workshop on Sunday. Okay, I'll be looking forward to seeing each and every one of you. So the registration link also is there in the chat box, so definitely do, in the description box as well, so definitely do hop in and check it out. Is that clear to all of you? Now coming to the chapter. Now before we start the chapter, I'm going to show you how my exclusive tool works. Okay, the link for which is there in the description box. All you need to do is click the link and sign in. Okay, so once you sign in, you will be seeing your NEET portal, and in here you will be able to access the past year's papers as well as the full mock test. Now if you click on past year papers, you will be able to access the biology, physics and chemistry questions of all the previous years, and here this tool is completely AI powered. Okay, now when I say AI powered, this tool is going to give you the first few questions. Okay, now I'm just going to start off. So the first few questions are going to start at a certain difficulty level. Okay, now I'm just going to go on answering. I'm not even reading the question. Okay, I'm just going to go on answering. Now the beautiful thing is you can log in to this app, to this website even through your phone. Okay, so as you are solving, let's say the last 5 questions I've answered everything wrong, it will lower the difficulty intensity for me, and if I am answering everything correctly, it will start challenging me with more and more difficult questions. Okay, now I'm going to answer, I'm answering, and when I finish the test, it's going to give me an exact feedback of how many correct, how many wrong. Now it's going to tell me that, look bro, first attempt you scored 37.5% correct. Then second attempt you came down to 28.6. Now third attempt you have correctly come to 30%. Okay, so means you've come down but you're again rising. So this will be showing you the trend very, very clearly. Is that clear everybody? Nakshatra, this is my exclusive application, so you will find the link in the description box Karna. Okay, so once you open the description box, you will be able to see the link to the tool, and directly you will be able to access the tool. So all you have to do is just register and then you have to start. That's all. Okay. Pritika, this is my own exclusive app. So all you have to do is click the link in the description box. Okay, and then you will be able to utilize this. Okay, so here I am going to have a clear-cut breakdown of, look bro, you have this chapter, all of this chapter needs work, everything you will be getting to see here. Now additionally, what you will see is an infinite mock test. Every time you open the mock test, it will give you a new combination of questions. You will see a new set of questions. Okay. It will be mostly PYQ and lookalike questions, Nakshatra. So very similar to PYQ questions. Okay, now if you take the mock test, this mock test is pakka 3-hour timing, okay, with your physics, chemistry, biology sections. Now let's say I'm starting with physics, okay, I'm going to do some questions, okay, something I'm going to do, and then if I submit my mock test, in this mock test, I have not done all my sections. I have done only few questions in the physics sections. That's all. Now, when I submit this test, I am going to get an even greater feedback that, look bro, first of all, you got 0 out of 720. On top of that, look, where are you? Where is your band? My band is starter rank. If I score this, I will get below 300 rank. Now, I scored nothing. Okay, so that is different. Now, when you do your exam and you see your score, you will be clearly able to see, okay, this is my projected rank. This is my projected score. Now, for this, how is my trend? Okay, in my previous trend, I scored 13 in biology. Now, in this attempt, I have scored 0. So, it is showing me the trend. For the others also, it is showing me the trend. So, like that, according to priority, how many of these topics I have answered and what are the top 3 or 4 questions I have to prioritize to improve my score, it is going to give me a clear representation. Is that clear? So I just wanted to give you a look of how the tool works so that it will be easy for you to enhance your preparation. All you need to do is click in the link, register and start using. Okay, now this tool is extremely free. So you can just start using it right away. Okay, everybody, is that clear to you? All right. Okay, now let's start with our reproduction chapter without any delay. So first we will start with human reproduction. Okay, now when we look at human reproduction, we have a set of events that take place. Now when we look at reproduction, the first pointer, the first most important process is nothing but fertilization. Okay, now those events that take place before the fertilization come under the pre-fertilization events. Means those events that take place before my fertilization even started to happen. Okay. No, Nakshatra, that is for the workshop, Karna. Workshop is on the 25th of April. Okay, but the application is available in the description box itself. If not, I will just send the link. Okay, by the end of the class, I will put the link in the chat box itself. Don't worry. Okay, so once I finish the explanation, I'll put the link in the chat box so you can access the NEET application through that itself. Okay, so in the description box, you'll have a separate link for the tool. Okay, if it is not there, I'll put it in the chat box. Don't worry. Okay, you attend to the class. After the class is over, I'll put it. Okay. So, fertilization is the main event of my reproduction. Now, all those events that happen before this fertilization comes under my pre-fertilization events. And those events after fertilization takes place is my post-fertilization events. Okay. Now, what is this fertilization supposed to mean? Fertilization is nothing but the fusion of my male and female gamete. Right? It's the fusion of gametes. Now, for this fusion to take place, what should happen? First, gametogenesis should happen. My gametes have to be produced and then they have to meet. Okay, so insemination has to happen so that the gametes are able to meet each other. Then the fusion will take place. Now, after the fusion is over, what will happen? Development of the fetus will happen. Okay, or in other words we can say gestation will happen, which is the scientific term for pregnancy or development of the fetus. Gestation will happen and then delivery of the child will happen, which is nothing but parturition. Okay, so these are all the events that we have to study about. Okay, yes Nakshatra, don't worry, I will definitely put the link in the chat box. Okay, let the class finish, I'll just put the link. Okay, now this gestation, parturition, both of these events happen after the fertilization is complete. Now before even we go into any of these separate features, okay, what you need to do is learn about the anatomy of the human male and the female reproductive systems. Okay, now when you look at the male reproductive system, firstly we have the primary sex organ, which is the testis. Okay, now where is the testis situated? It is situated below the abdomen. It is present in the extra abdominal space, okay, in the scrotum. Why? Because the temperature is 2 to 2.5 degrees centigrade less, and this is necessary for the spermatogenesis to take place. That is why it is present on the outside. Okay, then this particular testis is going to contain some small lobules or compartments. Okay, so 250 lobes of this testis is present, and inside this 250 lobes of the testis we will find 1 to 3 seminiferous tubules. Okay, and this is where my exact spermatogenesis is going to take place. Okay, now apart from that we have a tunica vaginalis, which is going to take care of the protection of the testis. Clear everybody? Now when you look into the seminiferous tubule, this is going to contain two cells, two different kinds of cells. One is the spermatogonia. This is the mother cell, sperm mother cell. This is what will undergo division, and this is what will give rise to the sperms. Then we have some oval elongated cells, which is called as the Sertoli cells. And this will function, this is the sperm mother cell, and this is the nourishing cell. Okay, and it also helps in a couple of more processes in the process of spermatogenesis, which you will understand close to the next topic. Okay, now this seminiferous tubule, I said 1 to 3 supercoiled seminiferous tubule is present in every compartment, right? Now in between these we have small interstitial cells, okay, and these interstitial cells are called the Leydig cells, and these are the ones that will secrete the testosterone or the androgens. Okay, and this is majorly important for the regulation of spermatogenesis in the spermatogonia. Clear everybody? Now coming to the transport. Now from the testis, okay, we have the seminiferous tubules that are present. Now from the seminiferous tubules we need someone to carry the sperm to the outside, and that's going to be the rete testis. Okay, now from there's going to be a bunch of more tubules who will bring the sperm outside of the testis in itself, and these are called as the vasa efferentia. Okay, and they bring it out into a supercoiled structure on the posterior surface of the testis called as the epididymis. Okay, and then from here we have an elongating tube coming out, which is going to be the vas deferens. Clear everybody? Now vas deferens is going to bring the sperms to the gland known as seminal vesicle. Okay, So there's going to be a seminal vesicle. So this vas deferens will fuse with this duct of the seminal vesicle and form a common duct which we call as the ejaculatory duct. Okay, and then further on it will continue down into the urethra. So from the ejaculatory duct, the urethra also will join. Okay, and from the urethra it opens out to the outside through a small opening known as the urethral meatus. Okay, so I have the urinary bladder somewhere here. Okay, so I'm just naming it as the urinary bladder. So I am not drawing the other parts. This is only for your reference and understanding. This is the seminal vesicle. Okay, now just below the urinary bladder we have a prostate gland, and just below the prostate gland we have two tiny glands called the bulbourethral gland. That's about it. Okay, so now the flow of the sperm, if you take, will be starting from the retetestis, going to the vasa efferentia, going into the epididymis. This is where the sperms are stored and they mature until ejaculation. And then we have the vas deferens. Then it fuses with the seminal vesicle, forming the ejaculatory duct. Okay, and then we have the after the ejaculatory duct it goes into the urethra. Okay, and then opens out into the urethral meatus. Clear? Alright, is that clear everybody? So this is the most important flow chart for the movement of sperms. Okay, and this is very important. Okay, very simple questions also you will get. Hari Gopal, I am here to share my knowledge with you, Hari Gopal. So definitely do subscribe and follow us so that we will be able to guide you even better. Okay, so I'll be coming live every single day, don't worry, and I will make sure that you're going to have the best possible revision notes and revision possible. Okay, fantastic. Now, once this flow is clear to you, we have to understand that during the flow of this we need certain fluids to lubricate and to take care of the nourishment of these sperms until they reach the female's egg. Okay, so it has to travel all through the reproductive tract and it has to reach the egg. So for this, the kind of accessory glands that we have include seminal vesicle. So seminal vesicle basically gives 70% of the entire seminal plasma. Okay, and what all it contains? It will contain fructose, it will contain some energy giving molecules basically, okay, to nourish the entire this thing. Okay, yes Nitya, done. Okay, now apart from that we have the prostate gland. Now the prostate gland is going to contribute 20 to 25% of the entire seminal plasma. Now this is going to have some prostaglandins, okay, calcium, ions and all of this. Now along with this there are some enzymes also to help in protecting the sperm. Okay, then lastly we have the Cowper's gland or the bulbourethral gland. Okay, now this Cowper's gland or bulbourethral gland secretes mucus and this serves the purpose of lubrication while transporting the sperm. Got it? That's it. Okay, now coming to the female's reproductive anatomy. Any doubts in the male anatomy? Good to go? Yes, everybody? Now, when you look at the female's anatomy, again, here the primary organ is nothing but the ovary. Okay? Now, this ovary is going to be lined by a germinal epithelium. There is a germinal epithelium. And then there is an inside space that is supplied with blood vessels, nerves and everything, which is called as the medullary region, and there is a cortex in the periphery. Now this cortex is going to have small developing follicles which will grow, and once completely grown it is going to burst and release the egg, and then it will decompose into smaller structures, and then it will just eventually fade away. Okay, now from this ovary, to pick up this egg, we have a long tube that is coming out, and this tube we call as the oviduct or the fallopian tube. Okay, now this funnel like structure just to pick up this egg is called as the infundibulum. And in the tip of this infundibulum, what do we have? We have some finger like structure which is called as the fimbriae. It will help to pick up the egg once it is released. Okay, now from the infundibulum we have a wide region called as the ampulla, and then we have a small narrow down region which is called as the isthmus, and this is what will connect into the uterus. Okay, this is the uterus or the womb. Now here in the ampullary isthmic junction is where we can expect fertilization to take place. Okay, so that means the egg and the sperm have to come together into the same place in order for the fertilization to take place. Okay, is that clear everybody? Now apart from that, once the oviduct has connected to the uterus, okay, now in the uterus you will see that firstly there are 3 layers in the walls of the uterus. First we have an outermost layer which is the perimetrium. Okay, and then inside the perimetrium we have a layer of smooth muscle which is called as the myometrium. This is what will undergo the contractions and powerful movement during childbirth. And then in the innermost layer we have a layer known as the endometrium. This endometrium is the one that undergoes the changes periodically month on month. Okay, now this uterus entirely is a pear-shaped organ. It looks kind of like an inverted pear, and this is where my entire gestation or development of the fetus will happen. Okay, now towards the end of the uterus we have a neck-like structure coming in called as the cervix. Now this cervix definitely has a cervical canal. Okay, now from the cervical canal onto the outside we have a long elastic tube known as a vagina. Now this vagina plus the cervical canal together builds what we call as a birth canal, and this is where the baby will be coming out of the body. Clear everybody? Is that clear to you? Now this is the entire anatomy. Now also I forgot to talk about the external genitalia in both the males and the females. Now the external genitalia in the males, okay, is nothing but the penis. Okay, now there are erectile tissue that is present in the penis, and through this erectile tissue it helps to stiffen up the penis while inseminating the sperms into the female's reproductive tract. Okay, additionally there is a ending of the penis which we call as the glans penis. Okay, and a fold of tissue around it which we call as the prepuce, or also called as the foreskin. Okay, now in the case of females there is a mos pubis which is a fatty cushiony layer, okay, and covered with pubic hair, and then we have the vulva. Okay, the entire genitalia of the female we can say is called as the vulva. Okay, so there is a mos pubis, and then there are 2 folds of tissue, 2 folds of skin which we call as labia majora and the labia minora. Okay, at the junction of the labia minora is where we form a small erectile tissue called as the clitoris. Okay, and then close to the vagina, that is outside the vagina, there is a small membranous layer that covers the vagina called as the hymen. Okay, earlier hymen was considered as an indicator of virginity, but later we understood that this hymen can break because of strenuous activity, because of any other sport or even stress. Okay, so it is not a reliable indicator of virginity. Okay, now when we look at the urethra, it is a separate opening that is present under the labia majora, under the labia minora. Okay, and this does not affect the reproductive tract. So the reproductive tract and the urinary tract is completely separate in the case of females, whereas in the males the urethra will act as the same urinogenital duct. Clear to all of you? Yes? Alright. Now, if you look at the first pre-fertilization event that we will discuss. Okay, when we look at pre-fertilization events. So, first we have gametogenesis. Okay, that is process of making of this gametes. Now, this is of two types. In the males, we produce sperm, so it is called as spermatogenesis. In the females, we produce an ovum, so we call it as an oogenesis. In both cases, we have meiosis that is taking place. So, 1 to n number of cell is going to get converted to n number of cells, further divide and produce n number of, n chromosome cells. Okay, so right at the first division, we have a reduction division taking place and the number of chromosome is halved. Okay, is that clear to all of you? That's it. Okay, now when you look at the process of spermatogenesis particularly, okay, when you look at the process of spermatogenesis, what happens is, firstly you have a spermatogonia. Right, this spermatogonia is 2n. Now this fellow will divide and differentiate, just getting up and getting ready, that's all. Okay, into another 2n number of chromosome cell, which we call as the primary spermatocyte. This primary spermatocyte will divide into two cells having n number of chromosomes, which we call as the secondary spermatocyte. Clear everybody? Yes. So we have a primary spermatocyte that divides into a secondary spermatocyte. Now further, this secondary spermatocyte, each of the two secondary spermatocytes will give rise to another copy each. So there will be 4 haploid equal cells produced. Okay, and these cells are called as a spermatid. Okay, now then this n number of chromosome containing spermatid will undergo a transformation which we call as spermiogenesis. Okay, and transform into a spermatozoa. Okay, so this spermatozoa is the complete matured cell that we have, and this is what will contain the nucleus, and this is the male gamete. Okay, is that clear everybody? Shri Upton Education. So the form, it's not a form dear, so it's actually a tool. Okay, it is my exclusive tool. I will paste the link to the tool towards the end of the class. So all you need to do is click into the tool, register and start using the question bank, which is completely AI powered. Additionally, I am taking a workshop on 25th, so you can register for that as well. Okay, great. All right. Now coming to the process of spermatogenesis, here 2n number of chromosomes in the spermatogonia becoming a primary spermatocyte. First meiotic division happens here. Okay, and then second meiotic division happens here. That's it. Okay, and then this transformation happens, for which you need the Sertoli cells. Clear everybody? Yes, Marin, Shri, Apthan, Nitya, KV, KNB, Hardiha. Is it all clear to you? Yes, everybody? Now, this spermatozoa structure, if you see, there is a head which will contain the nucleus. Containing the nucleus, and on the head we have a small projection called as the acrosome, and this will contain some enzymes to penetrate through the egg. Now this is a modification of the Golgi complex. Okay, then we have a short neck followed by a middle piece. Now the middle piece is going to contain a spiral shaped mitochondria called as the Nebenkin. Okay, now this spiral mitochondria is going to give the complete energy that is needed for this sperm to go till the end. Okay, and then we have a tail that will help in the mobility of the sperm. So this is the mature spermatozoa that we have. Clear? Now the same process is going to happen in the females in the case of oogenesis. But what's the difference? Firstly, I am going to have an oogonia. This will differentiate and form another primary oocyte. Until that it is same. Okay. Now, this process will start meiosis 1 but get arrested at prophase 1. Okay. Now, this will happen in the embryonic stage itself. Okay. Now, once the child comes to puberty is when the entire process of oogenesis will continue. Okay, and there it will complete the meiosis 1. Now, the number of primary oocytes produced is determined at birth itself. After that, no new number of oocytes will be created. Okay, is that clear, everybody? And then also the fact that this particular oocyte, when it comes to puberty, there will only be about 60,000 to 80,000 oocytes left in the ovaries by the time the child will reach the puberty. Okay, now once puberty strikes in, the hormones are working. What will happen? This meiosis 1 will complete and it will form 2 cells. Now in here there will be one cell that will retain all the cytoplasmic bulk and have n number of chromosomes. The other cell will have negligible cytoplasm and all that, but it will have the n number of chromosomes. So this we call as a polar body. Okay, so the first polar body is formed after the first meiosis is done, and this cell is now called as the secondary oocyte. Okay, now the secondary oocyte, what happens? There is only one huge secondary oocyte. This will enter into meiosis 2 and it will get arrested at the metaphase 2. Okay, so it will get arrested at metaphase 2 and then it will stop. Only when the sperm will enter. Okay, once the sperm enters is when I will have it finish the meiosis 2. Okay, and here also it will form a small polar body, which is the second polar body, and retain all the cytoplasm into the same cell, producing my final ovum. Okay, is that clear? So here when you look at spermatogenesis and oogenesis, firstly what do you have? You have an entire structured one by one flow that's happening in spermatogenesis. There are no breaks and there are 4 equal cells that are produced. But in the case of oocyte, what will happen? It starts in the embryonic stage itself and then there are so many breaks in between, and by the time I produce my complete ovum, right? There is only one huge ovum and two polar bodies that are formed. Now this is such a negligible first polar body. Sometimes it will divide into two cells, sometimes it will degenerate as is. So that is why some books will say 3 polar bodies, some books will say 2 polar bodies. Understood? So majorly this is how the oogenesis process will take place. Is that clear? Now when we look into the hormonal regulation, right? When you look into the hormonal regulation of the spermatogenesis as well as oogenesis, in spermatogenesis what is happening? In spermatogenesis we have GnRH. Now GnRH will act on the pituitary, and okay, I'll put it this way. So GnRH will act on the pituitary. So GnRH coming from where? Coming from the hypothalamus, right? It will act on the pituitary to release LH and FSH. So LH is acting on the Leydig cells, and Leydig cells will produce the testosterone or the androgens, which will control the spermatogenesis. Whereas FSH will act on the Sertoli cells, and this will take care of spermiogenesis, which is converting the spermatid into a spermatozoa. Clear everybody? Then this particular, after spermiogenesis, the sperms will get released. Okay, so I will just add that note here, that once this thing is over, okay, once the spermatozoa is formed, it will get released to the outside, and this releasing process is known as spermiation. Okay, that is something that you can remember. Now additionally, remember that the male configuration is XY. So in the secondary spermatocyte itself, there will be 22 plus X and a 22 plus Y. So when this will further divide into two cells, 50% of the sperms will have a 22 plus X, 50% of cells will have a 22 plus Y. Clear? Now when it comes to the females, what will happen? There is again a GnRH. This is in the females. Okay. There is again GnRH, which will act on the pituitary, anterior pituitary. This will release LH and FSH. Now FSH is going to stimulate the follicles. Now from the growing follicles, we are going to have estrogen that is released. Okay, and LH is predominantly important for ovulation. Now this ovulation process happens periodically every single month, and this is what we call as the menstrual cycle. Okay, now the beginning of menstrual cycle is known as menarche, which happens around 12 to 13 years of age, okay, when the child hits puberty. And then the stopping of the menstrual cycle is called as menopause, which happens roughly around 50 years of age, okay, and this marks the complete end of the reproductive cycle in the females. Understood? Marin, Shri Aptan, Nitya, any questions? Pritika, Nakshatra, any questions so far? Is it all clear? Alright, so now from the menstrual cycle, this cycle will span across 28 to 29 days, and in every cycle we have one ovum. It's not actually an ovum, it's going to be the secondary oocyte that is released. Clear? Now I will show you how the follicular development is happening and how the menstrual cycle is going to proceed. Okay, so we will learn both simultaneously. So the first phase of the menstrual cycle is the menstrual phase. This I will come to at the last. Now what happens? After the menstrual phase is complete, we have a follicular phase. Okay. Now in the follicular phase, I said that in the ovary, we have small primary oocytes that are formed, right? Now around the primary oocyte, we have one layer of granulosa cells forming a primary follicle. Okay, now after this, okay, once the FSH from the pituitary is going to flow, what will happen? This follicle will start growing. It will accumulate more amount of cells, more amount of granulosa cells, and form the secondary follicle. Then it will start making a small water pocket inside the cell. Okay, and this marks the this kind of water pocket is what we call as an antrum, and establishment of antrum marks the third or the tertiary follicular stage. Now this will mature and form what we call as a Graafian follicle. Okay, so a Graafian follicle has numerous layers of cells, and then there is a secondary oocyte that is present. So this tertiary follicle is where, from secondary to tertiary follicle is where the cell completes the meiosis 1 and becomes a secondary oocyte. So until that it is only a primary oocyte. Okay, it completes the meiosis 1 and produces the secondary oocyte that is in the tertiary follicle. Now this is what we call as a Graafian follicle, and when there is an LH surge that happens, this ovum will break out, will rupture the Graafian follicle, and the egg is released. That marks the ovulation phase or the ovulatory phase. Okay, now this happens where the LH surge is taking place. Okay, now once this is done, next what happens is this Graafian follicle will condense into a small yellowish white structure called as the corpus luteum. Okay, now from the corpus luteum, this stage is what we call as the luteal phase. Now this follicular phase can also be called as a proliferative phase. Why? Because as the follicles are growing, these follicles are going to produce a hormone called the estrogen. Okay, and this estrogen goes to the uterus and asks it to develop the cushiony layer, because we are expecting a pregnancy to take place. Okay, now as the cushions are growing, what happens? The uterus also starts growing and starts to expect the fetus. Now once the ovulation is done, we expect fertilization to take place, right? Now in case fertilization occurs, then there has to be even better nourishing secretions that come about, a lot of nourishment for the growing fetus to come and implant, right? So this corpus luteum is going to secrete a hormone called as progesterone, which will also act on the uterus and make the cushions even better and even better. Okay, now this follicular phase is roughly about 8 to 9 days. Okay, after ovulation, this luteal phase or the secretory phase, okay, we call as the secretory phase, because a lot of secretions are also coming down during this period. So this phase lasts about 14 days. Okay, now once after 14 days, we don't have any signal from the fetus, there is no pregnancy that took place, then this corpus luteum will degenerate. Okay, and because of that it will go to the menstrual phase, where the tissue will rupture, breakdown of the endometrial lining is happening. Okay, and this particular phase will last roughly 4 to 5 days. Now once this is over, again this whole process will start. Okay, so in your textbook there is a clear-cut graph of what happens to the estrogen, progesterone as well as LH and FSH through the cycle. Please remember, even if they don't ask the graph directly, all these concepts will be asked in one way or the other. Clear everybody? Now This happens if there is absence of pregnancy. If there is a presence of pregnancy, what will happen? Once the zygote has formed, okay, this zygote starts dividing. How? The number of cytoplasm or the size of the cell will be same, but it will start undergoing division. Okay, so from 2 it will become 4. Okay, so 1 becomes 2, 2 becomes 4, 4 will become 8, 8 will become 16. So in 8 to 16 cell stage, there will be identical cells that are present, okay, but the same number of cytoplasm as the zygote. So the DNA will increase, but size of the cells will not increase. Okay, this stage is called as a morula. From this morula, this will differentiate into an outer trophoblast layer, okay, and an inner cell mass. Okay, now in the inner cell mass, this is the region where the fetus is going to develop. Now this trophoblast layer is going to form the extra embryonic layers. Okay, so from the trophoblast we are going to have a yolk sac, which is for the initial RBC production. We are going to have an allantois, which will support the development. Then we are going to have a chorion and then an amnion. So the amnion is the one that will contain the fetus floating. Okay, so there is an amniotic fluid that is present around this fetus. Okay, now outside that we have the chorion, and then we have the yolk sac and the allantois. Okay, that's how it will look. Okay, now in this inner cell mass is what will undergo the formation of forming the fetus. Now here in the uterus, this cell, okay, this kind of a differentiated cell of trophoblast and this thing together we call as the blastula. Okay, and this blastula is roughly 16 to 32 cell stage. Okay, now once this cell is there, this chorion is going to create a chorionic villi, and this will go and embed itself into the endometrium of the mother, and this process is called as implantation. Now once implantation is over, this chorionic villi starts secreting a molecule known as human chorionic gonadotropin, which is basically the signal to tell the corpus luteum, bro, don't go off, I am right here, so you should not degenerate, the next menstrual cycle should not start, and I am going to grow here. Clear, everybody? Is the process clear to you? Right? Now from this, the entire trophoblast cells is going to give rise to all of these extra embryonic membranes, and the inner cell mass is going to undergo differentiation. Okay, now this inner cell mass is going to arrange itself as an outer ectoderm, inner endoderm, and a middle mesoderm. And from this ectoderm, we are going to have a set of organs developing. From the mesoderm, we have the heart, so many other organs that will develop. And then from the endoderm, we have the inner viscera that will develop. Clear to all of you? Now, this whole development takes place from the inner cell mass only. Okay. Now, if you look at the fetal development, in the fetal development, what will happen? In the first month itself, I have the heart that is formed. By the end of the first trimester, which is 12 weeks, okay, by the end of first trimester, I will have complete, so by the second month, okay, by the second month, I will have the limbs and digits, all that are formed, okay, and then by the end of the first trimester, I will have all the vital organs and organ systems developed, okay. Then by the 5th month, I can start seeing some movement, okay, and then by the end of the second trimester, I will have eyelids, okay, eyelashes, hair on the body, all that developing. And then the last trimester is only for the growth and the development. Is that clear? Now, the region where the mother's body is implanted and is interacting with the fetus, we have a whole new organ called the placenta that is formed. Okay, now this placenta is the connection between the mother and the child. Okay, and this placenta is going to make sure that the exchange of whatever nutrients we have, any waste we have, everything, all the exchange, it is going to take place. Okay, and also, like I said, it is the connection between the mother and the child. Okay, additionally, this is also going to act as an endocrine organ. So what is it going to produce? Firstly, it will produce HCG. I already told you it is the signal to stop the corpus luteum from breaking down. Secondly, it is going to be the HPL, human placental lactogen, which will play a major role in the milk production. Okay, so it will have to start asking the mammary glands to start developing and start producing milk so that we can nourish our young ones. Okay, clear to you? Apart from that, a lot of progesterone and estrogens are also produced in this case. Clear, everybody? Okay, now what happens in the mother's body? Okay, in the mother's body, all the hormones, which include cortisols, okay, then your all the thyroid hormones, okay, thyroid hormones, then estrogen, progesterone, all of this will be multifolds in the body. Why? Because it has to support the metabolism of the child. It has to make new organs, like the mother is literally supporting another life, right? So all of these hormones will be extremely high in the body. Okay, Fawaz, it's so that a lot of students can understand. All right, okay, fine. So from here, after this development of the fetus is over and all of this is done, what happens? The fetus along with the placenta is going to send the first signal that, bro, I am ready, I'm done growing here, I want to come outside. So this first signal is nothing but mild contractions that will be produced. Okay, and this is called as the fetal ejection reflex. Okay, now this fetal ejection reflex, once initiated, these mild contractions will go to the posterior pituitary of the mother. Okay, and say that, bro, I got some contractions. Now looking at the contraction, the posterior pituitary will give out oxytocin. Okay, now this oxytocin will cause stronger contraction. Now this stronger contraction will go contract the uterus, then again looking at the contraction, it will come and tell the pituitary, again oxytocin will be released. So like this, over a positive feedback, there will be stronger and stronger contractions that take place, and finally birth of the baby will take place. So this is called as parturition. Okay, now once the birth of the baby happens is when the milk should eject. Correct. So oxytocin is also the milk ejecting hormone. Okay, it will not produce, but to eject it, I need to give the signal that yes, I have completed the process of birth and the nourishment should start. Okay, now once the baby is born, lactation is given. So where is lactation coming from? From the mammary gland. Okay, now this mammary gland contains almost 50% fat. Okay, 50% of tissues, okay, cells that make up the milk. So that is nothing but alveoli. These are the milk secreting cells. Okay, these are the milk secreting cells. Clear? So this mammary gland will first have the alveoli, from where there will be a mammary tubule that is formed. A lot of tubules together will form the mammary duct. This will lead into the mammary ampullae. Okay, from the mammary ampullae we have a lactiferous duct that comes out, and through the nipples the child will be able to suck out the milk. Okay, and in this particular mother's milk, the first milk, okay, the first milk is called as the colostrum, and the first milk contains lot of IgA antibodies, which is extremely important for the baby, for the developing immunity. Clear, everybody? With this, our entire human reproduction chapter is over. Any questions here? Any questions, anybody? I think a lot of you are absent in class today because of the timing change. Yes or no? Yeah, so just check out the Instagram page, or you can also check out the channel for details on what time the class will be taking place. Okay? Clear, everybody? So stay tuned and watch all the live videos so that you will get a clear-cut understanding. Okay, now I am going to go into the reproductive health. Now, reproductive health chapter is super simple but super important for your NEET exam, mainly because a lot of direct questions you will get. Okay, and it's very important to learn all of this so that you can increase your mark through these very simple and easy direct questions. Clear, everybody? Now, when you look at reproductive health, the first introduction talks about the societal health, what reproductive health means. So, basically, when all the reproductive organs and all aspects around reproduction, including social, behavioral, okay, and all physical aspects, mental aspects are all clear, that is when we will consider reproductive health to be a successful thing, or a reproductively healthy society we can consider it to be. Okay. Now, when you look at the population, okay, we know that by 2011 itself, our population was extremely high. Okay, now the textbook numbers talk about 2011. Today we are in 2026. So you can imagine 15 years how much of a difference the population would have grown. Okay, and of course you all know that we have already overtaken China and we are the most populated country in the planet. Okay, now if you look at the reproductive health chapter, firstly you have to understand that from the government perspective, we have certain bodies called as the RCH, or the Reproductive and Child Healthcare Programs. Okay, now these reproductive and child healthcare programs definitely aim to spread awareness, okay, about the different diseases around sexual health, around how to care for the pregnant mother and how to care for the baby, then about what exactly you need to do so that your society can be a healthy society moving forward. Okay, so all of this awareness they will create, like for example, don't discriminate a girl child from a boy child, right? And then you should not abort the child just because it's a girl. So these things, awareness this body has developed, and along with that it has built a lot of infrastructure and facilities. Okay, and facilities, so that includes having hospitals in the villages. Okay, in all remote areas you will be able to find hospitals. In all regions you will be able to see that there are some kinds of medical support that is available for everybody, right? So these kind of things they have worked on, and also things like immunization programs for the babies. Okay, those things also for children, all of these things also they have done. Okay, now after understanding all of these things, you should also understand that it is important to control the population, because such an explosion will actually crunch us on all kinds of resources, which is not good for us, right? So definitely we will have to control the population, and for that the use of contraceptives is very important. Now this part of contraceptives for controlling the population is extremely important, mainly because this NEET exam, there is not a single paper, okay, believe me, there is not a single paper that does not have this contraceptives part. Okay, so contraceptives are nothing but those methods that we will use to prevent an unwanted pregnancy. Okay, so if every intercourse will lead to a offspring, then obviously you cannot control the population, right? And also there are people who do not want a pregnancy at a certain period of time. So to avoid this kind of an unwanted pregnancy, you can go for the contraceptives. Now there are different kinds of contraceptives that are available. Firstly, the natural or traditional methods of contraception include firstly periodic abstinence. Okay, periodic abstinence means what? There is no intercourse that is done between the day 10 to day 17, because we think that is the fertile window. Roughly ovulation will happen in the middle of the cycle. So avoiding any kind of intercourse during this period will not lead to any kind of pregnancy, obviously. Then the other one is coitus interruptus, means the male partner will pull out the penis just before the ejaculation, so that no sperms are deposited into the vaginal tract, and as a result of which, if there is no sperm that will go inside, there will be no pregnancy that will result as well. Okay, that is coitus interruptus, or we can also say withdrawal method. Okay, and the last one is lactational amenorrhea. So what happens is, during the period of intense lactation, okay, amenorrhea. So during the period of intense lactation, the GnRH is switched off. So if GnRH is not there, LH, FSH is not there. So basically the mother's body is not ovulating at all. Okay, so because of which there is no chance of a pregnancy. But this can be held effective only up to 6 months. Okay, now the principle of this kind of a natural contraceptive method is actually what? The fact that we avoid the meeting of sperms and eggs. Okay, so we are avoiding the meeting whatsoever. Okay, and by avoiding, what do I mean? We're not using any kind of devices, we're not using any kind of chemicals, so the side effects is almost nil, but chance of failure is very high. Understood? Now, when you look at the second method, which we say barrier method, here what are we doing? We are avoiding the physical contact, or we are preventing the physical meeting of the gametes. Okay, by avoiding this, by preventing this meeting, what are we doing? We're creating a barrier. So in this case, the first example would be the use of condoms. So these are rubber sheet like structures. So these structures can be used to cover the penis, and so the semen is trapped in the condom itself. So there is no sperm that will be deposited into the female tract, as a result of which there will be no pregnancy that will be resulted. There are male condoms as well as female condoms that are available in the market. Nirodh is a brand of condoms that is popularly used and is distributed by the government in the government hospitals as well. Okay, yes, Tarun Kumar, Fawaz, Yogesh. Okay, shall we continue? Right. Now, apart from these, there are other female barriers also, and these female barriers include diaphragms, vaults, okay, and then so these kind of cervical caps, okay, so these kind of barriers are inserted into the female reproductive tract, and with this I can add any kind of spermicidal foams or jellies so that I can, or creams that I can use to increase the efficiency, okay. But these barriers can be reused, but condoms are disposable type of barrier methods, okay. Got it? Tarun Kumar, in the beginning of the class I just explained, Kanna, you can use my tools. So my tool, you will get smart questions, and it will analyze your patterns, it will analyze your performance and everything. So you will be able to get a clear cut picture of how you need to improve. Chariya, just go back and see the video in the beginning, so I have shown you how to access the tool and everything. I'll paste the link, okay. Once the class is over, I will definitely paste it, okay. Just in 10 minutes we'll be done, okay. I'll paste the link, don't worry, okay. Fantastic. So after barrier methods, the third kind of methods that we can use as contraceptive is the intrauterine devices, okay. So when we talk about intrauterine devices, we have three different kinds of these devices. Ultimately, we are going to place this device in the uterus so that there will not be any implantation, okay. But for that, either we can use a non-medicated IUD, okay. The example for which is lipase loop. Now please remember everybody, these examples are asked so many times in the NEET paper. There is not one single paper that comes without these examples. So it is super important to remember these examples, okay. So for non-medicated IUDs, we have lipase loop, and then we have hormonal, before hormonal we have copper releasing, okay. Copper releasing IUDs, which is nothing but CUT or multi-load 375, CU7, all of these are types of copper releasing, okay. And then we have the hormonal. So in hormonal IUD, what happens is it will be continuously releasing some hormones, and this includes progesterone or LNG20. These examples are super important. Remember it, okay. So how non-medicated IUD is going to work? It will promote phagocytosis of the sperm. Phagocytosis of the sperm, okay. Now copper releasing will suppress the sperm motility as well as the fertilizing capacity, okay, and fertilizing capacity. Whereas when it comes to IUD, hormonal IUD, it will make the uterus unsuitable for implantation. Is that clear? Tarun Kumar, Fawaz, Yogesh, Maran, all clear so far? Superb. Okay, now after this we will talk about the oral pills. Now what the oral pills are going to do is it's going to fool the body, okay. So what happens, first we're going to have a menstrual phase, then follicular phase, follicles should grow, uterus should grow, then ovulation has to take place, then only the luteal phase will start. Now once the Graafian follicle will rupture, it will convert into a corpus luteum, and that is what is going to produce the progesterone and increase the uterus growth and the cushioning of the uterus. Now what happens is, in the oral pills, either we can use progesterone only pills or combination with progesterone and estrogen. Any pills we can use. Now this is going to tell the body, bro, you finished ovulation and you are in luteal phase because progesterone is there. The brain also will think, oh okay, progesterone has come, means my ovulation is over. And so what happens, there is no proliferation that happens, no ovulation that happens at all. So it inhibits the ovulation, in the body, and the uterus unsuitable for implantation, because the uterus didn't grow only in follicular stage. We directly skipped and we went off to luteal phase. So there is no implantation that can happen, there is no ovulation that will happen, and the cervical mucus also will be modified in such a way that the sperms cannot enter so easily into the system. Clear, everybody? Now these oral pills have to be taken for a period of 21 days, okay, and then a 5 days gap should be given so that the menstrual cycle can happen, menstrual phase can happen, okay. 7 days gap should be given. Now after 7 days, when you start getting the menstrual flow, once the menstruation is taking place, within 5 days, again you should start the pills so that it will continue. Okay, is that clear, everybody? So these oral pills will act in this mechanism by altering the hormonal system of the body. Okay, then we have injectables or implants. Okay, same concept as the oral pills, but just that it has a long lasting effect, unlike the pills, because it is implanted directly into the body and slowly these hormones are going to be released. Okay, and the last technique, now so far whatever we saw are all reversible, whereas in this case the last one is going to be surgical technique, okay, which is nothing but the sterility procedure for the males and the females. So what we're going to do, we will not touch the primary sex organ, we will not touch the hormones. We are only going to cut the duct that will transport these gametes. So in the males, it is the vas deferens that will be cut and stitched. In the females, it's going to be the oviduct. Okay, now what is going to happen in both of these cases? Okay, we have clear cut transportation that is taking place. Now in case this is cut and stitched, the sperms will come, they cannot cross this and go that side, so they will degenerate here only. Now same way in the case of females, the eggs will come, they cannot cross the barrier and go that side, so they will degenerate there and they will get absorbed by the tissues. So we are not meddling with the hormones, we are not touching the uterus or the ovary, we are not touching the testis either. So here what is happening is the males will not lose their drive or their secondary sexual characteristics as a male. Everything will continue because the hormones are not disturbed. Same way for the females, the menstrual cycles will happen, there will be menstrual shedding that happens, but the ovum will not come out into the uterus. Got it, everybody? So these are the different methods of contraceptives. Remember that every single paper of NEET will have questions from this section. Whether you like it or not, it will be there. Okay, is that clear, everybody? Now moving on to the next part, which is MTP. Okay, now sometimes what people do is they do something called amniocentesis. Okay, so amniocentesis is actually banned for sex determination by the RCH itself. So this will nothing but analyze the cells in the amniotic fluid, which will contain the fetal cells. So from that I can find out the sex of the baby. Okay, so some people, after looking at it and seeing that it's a girl, they will directly go and abort the child. Okay, because they all don't want the girls. Okay, similarly the mother is blamed for having that girl, but we all know that during secondary spermatocyte genesis, after the first meiosis is over, half the number of sperms are going to contain 22 plus X and half the number of sperms are going to contain 22 plus Y. So it's a matter of chance of which sperm will go and fertilize the egg. So the females being blamed for having a girl or a boy child is ultimate stupidity. Okay, is that clear? Yes, Abhi, I will tell you, don't worry. I'll give you a game at the end, okay, which you can utilize. Just follow the class. So all of these reasons, and apart from that, there may be genuine cases where there is some deformity, some kind of genetic problems that are there, and some kind of issues are there because of which the child will suffer all through life, or there is a problem in the mother, so the mother may lose her life in giving birth to this child. So because of all of these reasons, you can go for voluntary termination of pregnancy, which we call as MTP, okay, medical termination of pregnancy. Now this is absolutely safe for the first 12 weeks, which is basically the first trimester, okay, but after that it is definitely risky, okay. So after that, in the second trimester, it is definitely riskier, okay. So that is why from the government of India we have a clear cut rule that if you have to abort the child or go for MTP in the first trimester, one licensed doctor has to approve it, and if you have to go for it in the second trimester, two licensed doctors have to approve it. Only then you will be able to undergo this MTP. But apart from this, a lot of places in India, there are unprofessional doctors, okay, unprofessional nurses also who are doing this kind of MTPs, and it can definitely prove fatal, okay. So that is why you should be very, very careful. And MTP is not a method of contraception, okay. You cannot conceive the child then decide to kill the child, okay. It is not fair, and it is not to be used as a mode of contraception. But unfortunately, 1/5 of all pregnancies globally is aborted or terminated. Understood, everyone? Is that clear? Now going into the sexually transmitted diseases. So as simple as that, any disease that transmit because of a result of a sexual intercourse is what we call as a sexually transmitted disease. We can also call this as reproductive tract infections or diseases, or as venereal diseases, okay. Tamil Priyan, Abhi, Fawaz, Tarun Kumar, clear so far? Very good. Very good, okay. So now this sexually transmitted diseases can be viral, can be bacterial, okay, can be protozoan, can be any kind of disease, okay. But we have three important diseases. Who are those three diseases? Remember, 3H, okay. HIV, hepatitis B, as well as herpes, okay, genital herpes, which is not curable, okay. Apart from these three diseases, any disease you take, you can definitely cure it, okay. But these three HIV, hepatitis B and herpes, you cannot cure at all, okay. Now if you consider HIV and hepatitis B, it is not through, of course, yes, through sexual intercourse it can spread, but apart from that, blood transfusion, if you don't check the blood and if that blood is infected, the person will directly get the disease, okay. Sharing of needles, especially people who abuse intravenous drugs, they share needles, and then what happens? One person to another person, easily it can spread, okay. And the last thing, from the mother to the fetus, also this particular disease can spread, okay. So how do you, instead of curing the disease, it's better to find out the disease and prevent it, right? So how do you prevent the disease? Simply do not have sexual intercourse with unknown people, multiple people, do not share needles, okay, and of course check the blood before undergoing any form of blood transfusions. Clear? Is that clear, everybody? Yes, Fawaz is listing down all the venereal diseases for us. So yes, Fawaz, you can take a look at the textbook for all the different viral, bacterial and protozoan diseases that are there. Okay, is that clear to everybody? Now Going into the last part of the reproductive health chapter, it is nothing but the assisted reproductive technologies. Now let's say a couple is trying to conceive consistently for 2 years and even then they are not able to conceive, you will consider them to be infertile. And this infertility can happen because of psychological reasons, it can happen because of physical reasons, it can happen because of certain drugs, and there can be multiple reasons also for this particular infertility to take place. Okay. This art is nothing but such technologies where we can help these kind of couples to conceive. Okay, the first which is called as test tube program. Now when I was young also I used to think, oh, test tube program means baby will grow in the test tube, but actually that's not true. Okay, so test tube programs mean that first I will be doing an in vitro fertilization. Okay, that means I will fuse this inside the laboratory conditions. Okay, when it happens inside the body, we call it as in vivo. When it happens outside the body, we call it as in vitro fertilization. So in vitro fertilization, I am going to give laboratory conditions and make sure that the zygote is formed. Now the zygote at any stage can be transferred back into the uterus, which is embryo transfer. Now under embryo transfer, okay, let me expand it for you. This is in vitro fertilization, okay, and then this is embryo transfer. Okay, now in this embryo transfer, either within 16 cells itself, I can take the embryo, put it directly inside the fallopian tube. So what is that? Zygote intra-fallopian transfer. Okay, means what? ZIFT. I will take the zygote and directly put it inside the fallopian tube. It will grow, it will get implanted and it will start growing. Okay. Now the other cell is after 16 cells, almost 32 cell stage. What will happen? Implantation should have happened in the blastula. So there I will do an intrauterine transfer. Okay, which is nothing but IUT. So these are the different kinds of embryo transfers that I can do. Okay, is that clear? Now I can also do intracytoplasmic, I'll expand it for you, intracytoplasmic sperm injection. Okay, means what? Directly into the ovum, I am going to inject the sperm. Okay, so what happens? There is no guesswork at all. Directly I am going to inject. Now once the zygote is produced, I can go for an embryo transfer, either ZIFT or IUT. It depends on the number of cells. Instead of, a type of in vitro fertilization is ICSI. Got it? Now, this is in case both partners are able to produce the gamete. Okay, or both gametes are available. Okay, or if there is a problem in conception, then this is what you will utilize. Okay, okay, is that clear? So just give me one. Able to see my screen now? Yeah, is that clear? Okay, so sorry. Yeah, now let's start off. So what happens is, so we're done with intracytoplasmic sperm injection. Now, if in case the body can conceive, okay, and I can do in vivo fertilization inside the body itself, but the gametes are not produced by the individuals, what can I do? In the case of the females, I can do a gamete intrafallopian transfer. Okay, so gamete is taken to the fallopian tube and directly injected there. Okay, so from a donor I can collect the eggs and I can directly inject it into the female. So then the fertilization will take place on its own and it will start implanting and everything can happen on its own. Okay, now in the case of males, if the males is not able to produce the hormones or produce the sperms or something like that, in that case I can do artificial insemination. Okay, in artificial insemination, what happens is I have a clear cut sperms taken and directly injected into the female, and I can do an intrauterine insemination also, where I will directly take the sperms and inject it inside the uterus, so that in the way I am not allowing any of the sperms to die. Okay. Now all of these features are coming under the artificial reproductive technologies that you can use to help the couple to conceive. Okay. Now beyond this, of course, there are options to adopt. So definitely it will be useful for the children also who are homeless. Okay, so India does have a clear cut adoption policy where you can apply for the adoption and you can go ahead for adopting a child. So this depends from person to person and different people's choices. Correct. So here I am pasting in the chat box, okay, the direct login for the NEET application. So this is my exclusive app, dear children. So I will be definitely giving you more and more support, and from today, like I said already, every day we are going to be coming with classes. So tomorrow we will have a live again at 5 o'clock. Okay, so 5 o'clock will be tomorrow's live. So sorry for the change of timings. Okay, so you can definitely join in live at 5. If not at 5 o'clock, you can also watch the recording later. It will be there in the live segment of the class. Okay, everybody. So in almost 1.5 hours, we have finished 2 chapters. So definitely give yourselves a pat. I'm so proud that all of you turned up in class. I'll be posting all of these notes in my Telegram channel. So don't forget to join my Telegram channel. The links for all of these are there in the description box. Okay, and also register for the workshop that's happening on Sunday. Okay, everybody, take care, and I will see you all in the next class. Okay, see you everybody. If you have any doubts, definitely do comment and I will be happy to clear all of them